Know your opponent. Get that walkaway game strong. And it's not you, it's him. And actually, that's what he said. These are the three topics we're talking about today. Yes, you see here, we are on King Speak. However, King Speak was Tuesday. We talked the power of preparation with Nate Harris. But if we're going to harmonize relationships between women and men, we got to hear from the ladies. So we have Queen's Glean going on because we've got to talk about some of the points that Nate brought up in the Power of Preparation Kings Speak series. So I'm really excited, okay? I got my girls with me. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things. So definitely want to make sure that you guys like, share, comment. If you're looking to be in a relationship, if you're tired of BS with the relationships, if you're dating and unsure and blah, 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 you need to be here. We're going to dive in, share it with your friends, comment. Let's have a conversation, okay? And make sure you stick around to the end because not only do we have a news and gossip segment, but we also have just a little bit of homework that you could do to help change and transform your life immediately. So you won't want to miss that tip at the end. But let's dive into it, okay? I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander, and I'm going to have two lovely ladies with me on today. So let's get up here with my guests. Okay, I see my guests up in here. Let's let them in. Hey. All right. Hi, ladies.
Hey, Jamie girl.
Yeah. Okay, so we have
Kiki.
Queen Cookie in the building. What up, girl?
What's up, everybody? Thank you, Jamie, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And you introduced me to, as Kiki. Maybe I could call you Kiki, but let's give you a formal introduction and let the people know who you are.
I'm trying to figure out how to sit so that I don't be like,
That'd be me too.
But hey, everyone, it's Kirane. Erica calls me Kiki.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. This is the first episode, so I'm super hyped. Oh, let me see. I think we might have. Oh, my girl Keandra can make it. Oh, yeah. Surrender sessions in the building.
Hey, ladies.
So this is Keandra. All right, guys. Okay, this is amazing. So this is the first episode. I already had my wine. I'm sipping tea now, like a civilized human being. And we're just going to dive in and have some fun. So I know you guys saw King Speak and the Power Preparation with Nate Harris. There was so much in there. He had me rolling, y'all, but there's some stuff that we have to talk about. And our first topic is know your opponent. And I don't want to say opponent because we're not here to fight these men, okay? But there's a yin and a yang. There's always two sides to everything. So we have to make sure we are fighting for our territory or protecting whatever it is that we need to do when things, may or may not be right. When you're still checking it out, it's kind of like a war. So one thing that Nate said in his topic was, I asked him about sexual discipline and how men could invite in sexual discipline. If they're not ready to be in a relationship and they're clear with the woman, I understand that. But where does sexual discipline come into play? And he confessed that there's a moment in time where a woman could walk into a room and he just had no recollection or, admit, like he couldn't even remember that it's somebody he slept with. Like he couldn't identify them as somebody he's actually had sex with. So with that being the case, I want to have these conversations so we can learn to stand in power because girls, they out here like this, okay? I know we have our seasons, but let's see. I'll start with you, Erica. First of all, what do you even think about that? Oh, is she frozen? Erica.
She was frozen a little bit.
Oh yes, she is frozen, huh?
Okay, I thought she was listening intently. Okay, so we'll pause on that. So, Key, what do you just think about that idea as a whole, Nate's little situation?
I mean, I think like a guy sometimes because I don't remember some of the dudes I slept.
Okay.
Like,
hear
they
you.
can literally walk past me and I could be like, oh, we did? When? Like, okay, whatever. Like, it doesn't mean nothing to me, probably. Okay. But I do think when it comes to like boundaries and stuff, sexual boundaries, I definitely think that that's something that, because I literally was having this conversation with a man last night too, and he was like saying like, oh, Kira, like, you know, like, if you want to, you know, get this man or you want to get a man, Kira, you're going to need to hold out. Like, because I'm going to tell you right now, we hold women on different pedestals, like, if they make us wait longer. And I was just like, okay. And he was like, it's like this girl, I've been dating her off and on for like 5 years. And they're still not together, obviously. And it's like, he's like, but I'll always remember that she made me wait 3 weeks. And I'm like, oh.
Not 3 weeks. We're impressed with 3 weeks. Okay.
I'm like, oh, okay, 3 weeks, whatever. Like, but I don't know. Like, when if I'm like, I don't, whoever I'm talking to, whatever, I know as a female, I think it's unfair to say like we all need to have like these boundaries and stuff. Like, I just think it's kind of unfair for us.
Okay, kind of unfair for us in what aspect? That we shouldn't be acting like that, so to speak?
Yeah, it's like double standard, because it's like for men, it's like they can act however they want to act. If they meet a female and, you know, they do whatever they want to do, maybe night 1, night 2, whatever, it doesn't mean nothing. But if a female does, and it's like, oh, well, you're not worthy for the crown because you should have made me wait. It's your fault that, you know, we both engaged in this situation, but you should have made me wait. Like,
Lord have mercy. Keandra, what do you think about that? You got to weigh in.
Yeah, no, I agree with what she's saying. There's absolutely a double standard. And I find it to be so unfair. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes we can't win either way. You know, like if we hold on to the quote unquote purity standards for too long, then it's considered like, she's not experienced enough. And so, you know, I'm not really sure that I'm even willing and wanting to date her. But then if she is out there and, you know, sexually liberated and enjoying herself and in her freedom, then it's like, oh, she's considered a hoe, or, you know, like, ooh, you know, like dudes are going to look at you in this, you know, in this negative way. And so I'm more so from the place of the woman doing whatever it is that she wants to do. And, you know, you and I, we've had these different conversations, and we've even, you know, had some broadcast situations or conversations very similarly where it comes up where it's like the double standard, and making sure that women are just doing whatever it is that they feel that they want to do at that time and in their season, not necessarily adjusting their actions and their behaviors based on what they think it is that's going to get a man, because it really doesn't matter.
It's very true. And every time I think about sex, I have this whole thing in my mind where it's like left, right, center. It's like you can be too far to the left and be doing too much, or you can be doing nothing at all. But I feel like the trick is the sweet spot, because you have to know also what you can deal with. There's a responsibility that comes with sexual freedom. You know, a lot of guys that I talk to, sometimes they feel like they're meeting women and they might have sex and kick it. They're basically playing boyfriends. You're having sex, you're kicking it, you're doing Netflix and chill and all this. The lines are blurry as to what is really going on in the relationship. Then the woman comes back fussy or crying because he's not doing this or doing that or whatever. And as much as I understand how that happens, I still think there's like so much responsibility that comes with that maneuver if you're not in the mood to be disciplined. So, Key, let me ask you. Well, you guys like Kay Renee, because you guys are both Key, Keandra, Key. What do you feel like do you feel like you're up against anything when you hook up with a man early or too quickly or this, that, or the other? Do you feel like there's a disadvantage, or do you feel like, are you ever worried about what they think about you or anything of that nature?
Nah, I think I got too many options. I don't be caring though. But like, No, I don't feel any type of way, but this is what I always prerequisite like with men. I let them know up front from the first day, look, I'm not good with differentiating relationship and sex. So if we're gonna be having sex, I'm like, you know, right now, if we have sex like 4 times, I like you. Like it's a wrap. Like so just know that this is what's gonna happen. So either you're gonna do it with me or you're not. But I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm gonna start liking you and there's nothing we can do about that. So
Yeah.
it's happening because I'm not good at just like friends with benefits. I don't know what that means. Like I don't understand that.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Cookie, good to have you back.
I know. I literally had to sign in on my laptop. My phone was like, no.
It's all good. So, what do you?
Yeah, it's good to be here. Hi, Queens. You can finally hear me. Oh my God. Yeah, good to finally be here.
Yes, good. Welcome. Well, I was a little tripped out by Nate's comment. I know you saw it in the power preparation where he was like, you know, someone could walk in a room and I may not even know that I've been with them. Me, I'll be able to see you from across the football field because I'm just very like, you know, my radar be up. I don't even think I could ever be in that position. And when I started thinking about men and their freedom to maneuver like that, it just kind of made me think about the times where I felt I was at a disadvantage because it's like I wasn't privy to the fact that maybe this was just a whim for you or whatever the case. And I think as women, we kind of need to know what we're up against just a little bit if we're going to be navigating this world of sex because we're brought up different. Men are brought up, sow your wild oats, do your thing, whatever. And women, it's like, oh, you're a whore if you have sex with more. Like, so what do you think about that situation, Queen Cookie, and what would you say to the lack of sexual discipline?
Well, it was so funny because it hit really close to home. You know, first of all, shout out to Nate for being super open and honest yesterday. It was really nice to see a gentleman be transparent about his past and, you know, really actually taking a step back and taking 2 years off and doing that work. Like, how many guys can say they took 2 years off from life just to like start working on themselves? But I think the difference between men and women are feelers. You know, we feel things, and a lot of times when sex gets involved, our feelings are involved because it comes with our feelings. And I think men are able to have sex and, you know, they can compartmentalize it a little bit differently. It's not about emotion for them. It's about a quick feeling. It's not like, you know, it just is what it is. And I think that's what, you know, both sides need to be responsible. I really love that Kira said that, you know, she's very open and honest. And I think for me in my past, maybe I haven't been. And I just thought, oh, well, maybe if we keep doing this, he'll come around. He'll come around. Or, you know, after the third or fourth time we sleep together, he'll come around. And that's not the case. And women always think like, we got the bomb and we're going to get the man. And it's not even about that for them. It's not about that for them. You can have the bombest WAP in the world and they don't care. Look at Cardi. She got the watch and it's gone. You know, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. So very well said, and I agree. And you know, it really isn't what matters. And I think that's why it's important to have these conversations and have it back to back with the men because we're missing something somewhere. It's like they know we catch feelings, but are we really walking in our personal power and using our authority to express that? And if we're not okay with having the sex without the relationship, can we say that? And then can we walk away? But are we going to give in and, you know, let it happen anyway? Or do you think there's a point of maturity where we can actually stand up and say, like, I'm sorry, you're fine, but I'm going to have to pass because we're not on the same page? Or do we got to
it comes with the maturity. It comes with the maturity.
Yeah, and honestly, if you just set boundaries, like, look, I'm gonna have the kind of boundaries I set. If I know, like, we're just like gonna be doing whatever, I do like these kind of rules where it's like, all right, there's no kissing. You can't just text me to ask me what I'm doing. Like, only hit me up for what we're hitting it up for. If you're gonna come to my house, don't try to hang out with me like for an hour out. Like,
Don't try to spend the night.
No, you can't spend the night. Like, we can't watch a movie. We can't like none of that. You should be at my. If you're at my house or I'm at yours, we're there for only while it's happening, and we get out, and you don't need to talk to me throughout the week. And that way there's no emotions involved. You don't get attached to this person. You don't do anything, and it is exactly what it is. But it's like, you got to be able to like mentally set those boundaries, and like those kind of boundaries, it works.
And I feel like that comes with, I mean, kind of coming back to the maturity and just basically just saying again, like what you're saying is correct. It comes with trial and error. Like, you don't really realize what boundaries you need to basically guard your own heart until you've basically had the experiences where you either caught feelings with the wrong man, or, you know, you realize that you guys weren't even in alignment with what you both wanted. And so it has to be said that I think that it's an experience to mature. The maturity doesn't necessarily have to come with age, but I do think that there's something that comes along with when you had enough experiences where you at least know what works for you and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if, because it would be nice to impart this on someone who's not been through all of that so they could get the wisdom and not go through all of this. But there is something to be said about kind of having your heart broken open and going through the motions, because you've got to learn how to set your boundaries your own way. One other topic that I wanted to bring up within this topic is how we take it so personal. Sometimes when a man is being dismissive, we take it personal. Oh, we're not pretty enough. Our butt's not big enough. We're not whatever enough. Like, we beat up on ourselves, but the reality is it's him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how does anybody have an idea of how you think we can approach with the kind of authority that would allow us to realize that we're enough and there's nothing wrong with us just because either it's not working out with the man, or we had the sex and he's ready to move on, or whatever the case? Why does our self-esteem have to take such a hit and a nosedive?
I think that's oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, I think that all of that really stems from the inner work. Like, none of that can be established outside of the individual or outside of ourselves. That's that journey, that work, that self-healing, that self-love, that self-care, that all of those things where your worthiness and your wholeness is not predicated on if a particular type of a guy likes you based on whatever their response is. It basically is a centering and a knowing that basically exists where you're anchored regardless of, you know, what the rejection from whatever type of a man, and being able to not take that personally. It takes some work, you know, and you know, I remember, well, the whole story of overcoming, you know, low self-esteem, but, you know, that work had to be done within me first before I was able to put myself back out there in the dating world to be strong enough to not feel, you know, like shaken by if things weren't going the way that I hoped they would go with a particular guy, and not taking it so personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, very well said.
I definitely agree with you. Like, when it comes to like inner work, because like even when I was younger, I didn't even have my first boyfriend until I was 19. That was like my first time doing any of that. But the reason for that was because I did have very low self-esteem in like high school, middle school, like all these things. And like, when you're dealing with like low self-esteem issues and then you get older, you kind of do have to kind of break that down, because you'll always end up like reflecting whatever a man does to you or whatever it is on like you personally. And it must have been just me. He didn't think I was cute enough, or oh my goodness, like, you know. But it's like, until you get older and then you start to like look at yourself and walk past the mirror like, oh, who, me? No, it wasn't me. Like, you know,
couldn't have been me.
Couldn't have been this. Couldn't have been.
But like, then you start to like realize that people are dealing with things within themselves, and you have to understand that sometimes you don't get this until you get older, until maybe you do come across a wiser, you know, person, or you just went through something, and then you get a self-love coach who teaches you, like, you know, like, oh no, boo-boo, it's actually whatever's going on inside of that person, they're projecting it onto you. So don't take, you know, but it takes a while, because it took me like until I was almost like 25 to like get it together, you know. But I mean, it's too late now. It's too strong now.
I mean, I agree. I think there's some things in life that you just have to go through. I think there's some things that can't be taught, can't be told. You have to literally like go through it. It's just like, you know, telling a kid, don't put your hand on the stove. They're not going to learn until they do it. And it's the same with dealing with the opposite sex, or if you're same gender, it's the same as that as well. So you literally have to go through some things to grow through them and evolve. I even remember Nate talking about his experience with the girl he wanted to marry. And then he was like, but I'm not ready for her, and how that made her feel inside. And all of us have been there where they're like, but if you just let me, you know, and it's like, but. And we really have to, when a man says he doesn't want to or he's not ready, believe him. He's not lying to you, and you cannot change him. You can't. And if it was trial and error with me. It was trial and error. I've had a man literally tell me like, this is not right. And I was like, oh, but it is, you know, but it is. You just know yet. Like, just give it some, you know, and she's like, when men tell you how they feel, that's how they feel. That's how they feel. And you really have to just believe them. That's, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think too, like also being okay with knowing that you're not everyone's type. And that doesn't mean or take away from your own beauty or whatever it is that makes you wonderful, you know, like we're not all of us are for everybody, you know, and so being able to be okay with that, even if he is whole, we're just not for everybody, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is okay. I feel like we're somewhere along the line, we're kind of taught it's not okay. It's like, you know, I'm every woman, be this, be that, be his everything, blah, blah, blah. So we're getting this messaging that we have to be everything, even if we don't even know what everything is. But the reality is, like you just said, we're only going to be fit for some people. Like, it's totally okay if you're not for everybody. And I think this is such a perfect time to, you know, talk about our second segment, the walkaway game. Like, is your walkaway game strong? I know mine wasn't. I had a man straight tell me, you know, I loved him so much, but he was like, you're too good for me. And I remember it perplexing my brain. Like, what do you mean? Is he just being nice? Are you trying to say, like, are you just trying to say this or that? Or what? No, what he literally meant is I'm too good for him. And it wasn't until so much cheating and so much emotional abuse and all of this stuff that I was able to say, I'm done. I sure wish it didn't take all that for me to have been able to just say, I hear you. This is not my favorite thing right now, but I'm going to bounce. So with that being said, how much of the drama that we go through is our own fault?
It could be, you know, like there are absolutely some times where I guess it depends on how long you stayed, you know, like if it gets to a point where you are seeing a repeated pattern that you know is not going to work for you, and it's the fourth go round, then yes, that is your fault. You know, like when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And what you see, if you accept it, then, you know, that you've accepted it. So in those instances, then there is some responsibility, you know, that has to be taken. But of course, you know, anyone can be blindsided and surprised. And we've, you know, all had to experience our heartbreak that may or may not necessarily have been something that we saw coming. We can think in hindsight, but you know, it's not necessarily something where we can say that we did something wrong. Because I think a lot of women, especially if they've been like cheated on or, you know, dealing with a man who, he's just unfaithful or, you know, unhappy or whatever it is, we tend to basically put that blame on ourselves. And I think even society and other men put that blame on us. I mean, even with Cardi, she's damned if she does, damned if she don't. You know, people are blaming the song the fact that she's now divorced. And it's kind of like, he's for the streets. You know what I'm saying? So how was this Cardi's fault? You know, like she did try to make it work for the third time or whatever it is. But you know what I mean? Like they're just, she at least is at a point where it appears now that she's recognized like this is no longer working and moving forward. But all that to say, the responsibility can come when you've seen the pattern and you've already it's been revealed and you basically have decided to kind of stick around and maybe see what happens.
I agree, Keandra. Because my walk away game was not strong at all. Like, I've accepted things in my life that I would never tell another woman to accept. And it took me hearing myself and being like, what the hell are you saying? Like, if you wouldn't give this advice to your friends, like, why would you, why do you accept this? And it was like somewhere down the line, my self-esteem was in the trash. That's why I was accepting these things. Like, I accepted that because he made me feel that way. And I accepted that as my truth. So I think when women start to wake up out of that, I'm better than this, or, it takes like that trial and error, like, Keandra said, and you start to value, your womanhood and what you're worth. And then you're like, oh, no, you can't play these games with me anymore. Like, you can't say those lies anymore, like, because I'm like 2 steps ahead of you. But it definitely takes you hurting and going through those things and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, these are the things we don't accept. And these are my morals. And like Kiara said, I have my standards. This is what it is. And if you don't have that, then you're walking through this world blind. You're going to keep on walking in these loops. You like really need those things to keep you grounded so that when you're all huddled up or when he sends you that good morning, beautiful text, you see right through that shit. You see right through it because you're like, no. I know. I remember this. So you really have to set those standards and set those things that, like Kiara was saying earlier, so that you can know how to navigate these things, or else you're going to just keep going down the same loop over and over.
Yeah, and don't nobody want to keep doing the same thing over and over. That's the definition of insanity. I know. I remember the point I was ready to move on. I was just like, this is dumb. I'm better than this. Like, I'm over it. Like, there is gotta be. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, we only need one man. There's billions of people in the world. You don't think, I'm good, I'm done. You don't want to, but like you said, I too was in that space where my self-esteem had just gotten so low that I was accepting all kinds of things. And I let this man, take up my baby making years. My popping, I should have been out. I'm on music video sets. I should have been, taking a book from Kiki's page. Okay, like, let me, live a little bit, but we get kind of caught up in that stuff. And I also think too, is that every time I talk? Let me see. It just sounds all crunchy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys hear like it sound like that? That's what I was gonna switch. I thought it was me. Let me switch to my computer.
No, I hear it too. But I think it'll be okay.
I muted just to check.
So I wonder, is it my thing? I think it's just this thing. It trips out sometimes, but that's okay. We'll get through it. All right. So, how do you guys think spirituality and our faith plays a role in how we deal with and balance our dating life? Or how does that play a role for you? Or have you had a moment where, because I know for me, there was a point where I was like so celibate, it was just no. Not that I wasn't attracted. I was wildly attracted to, certain guys, and there was these moments and blah, blah, blah. But for me, because of the way I was, working my spirituality, it was all a no. And it helped me, it protected me in that season just from what I wasn't able to handle at the time. But I was just wondering, how much that has played a part in your journey, or if at all.
I think like when it comes to like spirituality for my journey, I've I've never tried the whole celibacy thing because I never get past like a week, but but I do, like, for me, it's very important for like the man who's in my space or even consuming my energy to be very God-fearing. And I know that I have walked away from guys who like would be like, oh, I don't go to church, or I don't believe in God, or I don't like that. Because then I just feel like our energies are not going to match at the end of the day, because I know that I'm very spiritual and I don't want to put your energy into me, and I don't want to like force something on you, or I don't want to be in situations where I feel uncomfortable being around you because I know you don't believe in God, and then I think you're weird or something, you know, or I start to like despise you, or I know I would never have kids with you, you know. So it's kind of like those type of things always come to the forefront for me, especially because I like happen to be in the entertainment industry, so I've run around a lot of men who are like in the entertainment industry, and you know, everyone in the entertainment industry, some of the people be on some other stuff, so it's like I always use like that as my guide. Like, okay, do you believe in God? Do you go to church? You don't have to necessarily go to church, but do you believe in God, and are you God-fearing? Do you believe that there's a higher being? All right, cool, I can rock with you. But if you don't, you might put some of that weird energy into my body, and then I can't really rock with you no more. Like, I use it like that.
That's smart. I like that. It's good to be cognizant of that, because yeah, when you're having sex with energy that's, you know, or whether you're having sex or not, the energy that is transmuted in between constant reactions with a certain person, you want to monitor that. You want to correct that. And to be honest, in my early days, that's not even something I was thinking about. Like this new age world, we're like, you know, energy and frequency and vibration. But I wasn't thinking like that when I was younger. And I don't know how, you know, I was kind of just doing what I thought felt good at the time. So I think it's really smart to invite that in and honor that, because it does mean something. Just to have somebody who's on the same page at least a little bit, you know, so you guys can communicate about everything on a certain level or whatnot. So this kind of takes us to our third point. So I titled this one, It's Not You, It's Him, because Nate was very clear about being like, it's not you. And I think this is the very biggest thing. If any lady watching or anybody watching, the most thing that you can get from it is to not take this personal and it's not you. Because I don't know about you, but when things were happening, I took it all personal. I thought it was all me. So he was talking about men cheat because they have no discipline and are completely yielded to the moment. Then after the nut, they come back like, oh my God. And now they regret everything. They regret cheating. They regret hooking up with the wrong woman and all of this stuff. So I don't know. What do you guys think about being able to just, I think it's just really important to be able to separate the fact that like you were saying earlier, that's somebody's behavior and it has nothing to do with me. It's them like putting their actions out on me or whatnot. Ooh, that is crunchy.
I always blame the men anyway. Like, I always blame the men. Like, I mean, personally, I even had a situation where it was like a boyfriend of mine, and we were living together. I went to get my hair done. That was like him and a girl on my couch. Candles lit, all the perks, and like, you know, like they was about to, it was almost going down, like, you know, and I remember I just walked in like, yo, I only been gone. I'm like 1 hour, like, you did this quick. But you know, like my energy, like even for him, I don't know, I'm just kind of like, well, for one, wow, but to the girl, like, you know, she kind of looked like, oh my God, and I'm like, girl, yeah, I'm not about to attack you. Like, this don't have nothing to do with you. Like, you know, it's like, this is him. Like, he knows what he's up to. And like, and I definitely remember him like, you know, oh no, I promise, like, it doesn't mean nothing. And I'm like, I don't care if it meant or didn't mean anything. It's just the fact that you did it and you were conscious in the moment. And I feel like men always use that excuse, like, oh, you know, we're not there when it's happening, but we're there after we bust the nut. Like, that's not, like, that is like, we're not taking that as an answer. So
it's such an excuse. It avoids all accountability.
Because you were there when you got the phone number, or you were there when you sent the text message. You were there when you drove to meet us. Like, you know, like everything leading up to the nut or whatever you claim, you were there. Like, you know, you were in that moment. So I think that men use that whole it doesn't mean nothing to us. Like, it's just a body to us, but you mean everything. You know, whatever. I think that's like, I definitely think that's just like the excuse the world gave them, so they've been running with it forever.
Yeah, I totally. And so Nate is in the building, y'all. He's in the chat. He said, "What up?"
Oh.
We talking about you.
Stop using these excuses the world gave.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about you going pee in the middle of your episode.
We talked for 2 hours.
I know. He was over there drinking that red cup.
We saw that red cup, Nate.
That red cup was bigger than his head.
He said, "Oh, what was y'all talking about me? We sure were, because you had made a point about, you know, men who cheat. They go out there and," he said, "Back up. You know, they go out there and it's like you lose all accountability and blame it on the nut. And then when the nut is done, it's like, oh, good morning, I'm here, I'm clear. Whoops, what did I do?" And I just think that that's, you know, whatever. What do you think about the accountability, Sandra?
Yeah, I think it definitely goes both ways. There's absolutely is it crunchy on my end now? We'll get through. No, it definitely goes both ways. I don't think that there is any way that if two people are in the bed together consensually, then it basically is on both people to basically be accountable for how it ends up, what ends up happening. Basically, the accountability is on both people. I'm gonna mute my. Is it me?
Okay,
I
well,
don't know. I definitely would like to speak on that. I feel like, and goes back to your last question, Jaimi, about our views and how we were raised and our spirituality and religion and things like that, because I feel like people's upbringing has a lot to do with their thoughts on cheating. Like if you were in a household of like a bunch of like men and they always talk about cheating and that's kind of like your family thing, then you're going to grow up thinking that it's okay to do that, because there's not all men cheat in this world, and it has a lot to do with your upbringing and how much you respect women, and that, you know, and I think that, you know, if you live that fast lifestyle, kind of like Nate did, living in that football world, I think that's the mentality that they have, you know, that they could do whatever, that they're athletes, that the women are there to please them. I think men in power always have that perspective, like, you here for me because I'm the power, you know. And I think that when they have that mentality, it is just vagina for them. It's not feelings. It's not anything. It's she's here to sit on my dick. Like she is, you know, and it is what it is. But I got the girl that I love at home. And that just is what it is. And that's their mentality. That's how they've, in these celebrity worlds, in these powerful worlds, in these political worlds, in these men who have all these women, these escorts, these things like that, that's the world that they live in. I would say the same for me, how you said growing up, Jaimi. I mean, I grew up like a damn prude. Like the religion was shoved down my head so much. I was like, I can never have sex. Oh my God. You know, and so I was scared as hell to have sex. And then when I started to, I didn't know anything about my body because it wasn't something that me and my mom talked about because she was trying to save me from that. And you got to have those conversations, because I learned about my body through a man, and that's not how it's supposed to go down. And that's why my head was all fucked up too, because a man taught me about my body. And so I think women need to do more research on them. What makes them feel sexy? What makes them feel whole? What feels good to them? Are they getting off, or are men just busting nuts in them? You know, because it has to go both ways. If there's no sensuality, if there's no feelings, there's nothing, then you are just a piece of meat for him. And, you know, and We've all been there. I've been a piece of meat for a man, but then I've had a man where he was all about me and all about, and I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. But like you said, if no one shows you that, if no one shows you how to, and engage in your sexuality and to own it and to be respectful to your body and listen to your body will tell you a lot. I'm learning that too. She lets you know when she's ready and she lets you know when she ain't ready. And for women, sometimes we don't listen to it. There's been plenty of times where my vagina has told me no, and I did it anyway. And we have to listen to ourselves. We have to trust ourselves, and women are not taught that. We're honestly taught to please men. We see that in our mothers. We see that in our grandmothers. It's all about the man, and unfortunately, that's society. And so women always get put on the back burner, and we're like I said, we're taught to be the pleasers. And then when you have those men in power, they take advantage of that and like, oh yeah, come. So that's just my thoughts on that.
No, it's
No, you're right.
What were you gonna say,
Right. No, I was just gonna say she's right. And I feel like when it comes to sex, it's very male centered. Even when you think about, I'm an HR person, so of course sometimes I tend to go to like policies and stuff. But when I think about even sexual harassment policies in companies, it's all dress codes and all that stuff is centered around what makes a man uncomfortable, what would be arousing to a man. And it's like, fuck that. Like, why does sex only have to be about what gets you off? Why does it have to be only centered around your penis? Like, it shouldn't be. And why does it only have to be centered around ejaculation too, or just even having an orgasm? Because sometimes, that of course takes experience in being with a partner and all of that, but it isn't always about the end result of him getting off. And you know what I mean? Like it tends to be very, very, very male centered, and it takes a lot of, I think, a woman being confident enough, but secure enough, not even just the confidence, but secure enough to be able to own her own sensuality and sexuality, to be okay and not be ashamed of masturbation and exploring herself and all those things that Cookie was talking about, of getting used to feeling, like, what is the turn on? What are the turn offs? When are your times of when you're highly into it and aroused? Is it with the moon? Is it, like when you eat certain foods? Just all of those things, it takes a woman, I think, being really confident in herself and secure in herself, which can come through spirituality. Jaimi, a little bit of what you were talking about. I think some of those spiritual practices can keep people grounded and rooted in who they really are and their authenticity and what is really important to them, to make sure that they are, I guess, matching up with partners that share those same values and share those same ideals, you know what I mean? So that it's not so unequal and a terrible experience. Who wants to have bad sex? Nobody. And a lot of these men are not as good as they try to say they are. Please, just because you have a dick, you got to do a whole lot more than just your inches and your girth.
Sir.
That's a whole nother conversation, but
they're not ready for that conversation.
Go on mute and sip my bourbon. So
back to the bourbon. Nate was talking about in the chat, he was talking about how, so first he said, when we talked about infidelity and cheating and men being unable to hold themselves accountable because they get lost in the moment, he was reiterating what he said in our chat, which is that the person you have the strongest connection with, y'all can't quit on each other. And he was having his own rant. And as much as I understand where he's coming from, it's just the stuff that we're talking about. It changes us. It does something to us. It really, if we're not on the same page and we cannot get it together, there will be no woman or no relationship to be had, because we're just, everything is all off. So he also put, just like men need to be pleasing y'all, that's where I lost myself. Okay, so Nate, if you're still in the chat, elaborate. How would you lose yourself pleasing women? What's the narrative? But I understand too, like, we're getting a narrative on both sides that, like we just talked about, women are being taught, especially if you're in the church, you know, masturbation is bad, sex is bad, your body and touching yourself and all this and that. But then we get out in the world and men who are sowing their wild oats, we're matching up, and that is a non-match. That we don't match. That doesn't make sense. So now, like you said, Cookie, we're learning about our bodies through men and their exploration. That's going to be very low vibrational just because it's coming from another human, and chances are that early in the game it's coming from somebody who don't really care like that. So he ain't really walking you through things in a way that's going to allow you to grow and blossom in a certain way. That's our job. But it's like, when do we invite that in? When we're 16, when we're, to be honest, that's when I lost my virginity. I was 16.
Yeah.
That was
But yeah, it starts with our mothers, though. Our mothers are our first, they're our first go-to, and like I told you guys, my mom didn't talk to me about sex. She was trying to hide me from it, but all that made me want to do was do it more.
you guys,
And then I did it the wrong way. And then I went down this whole path of trying to find what it was that I liked. Probably slept with men I shouldn't have been sleeping with, but that's because no one was having these conversations with me. My mom didn't tell me to look in the mirror and find my sexy. I had to do that later in life. And because I lost my self-esteem, I lost my mojo, and then it's like, oh, well, I didn't even have to go through all that. But because no one taught me how to be a woman, no one taught me how to use my vagina, I had to figure it out. And men weren't teaching me; they were using my vagina. They weren't teaching me how to do what my yoni was and what my power was. They were showing me, oh, let me stick my dick in there, and it was like, oh, okay, because that's what it's for, right? No.
Okay. So I look, you guys, I did solve the static problem. I Googled it really fast. It said to put on earphones and it went away.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. And it told you on the corner, if you hear static, put on earphones. So I was like, oh, okay, that fixed it. But you guys want to know who taught me about sex?
Ooh.
Pretty Ricky and the Blue Star album.
Oh, no! It's 5 in the morning.
And I'm having fun sex with you.
Yeah.
Oh, howdy.
I swear, I literally ended up losing my virginity because, me and this guy, he was, a little bit older, and we used to literally listen to the Blue Star album on the phone all the night long, talking, and he literally thought I was not a virgin, and I, was just I would say whatever the song said, and he'll be like, oh, you like strawberries? I'm like, yeah, when he said strawberries on top, whatever he said, and then we ended up doing it, and he was just like, oh my God, you're a virgin? And I was like, yeah. And he left the room and stopped. And I remember I was just like, oh my God, he robbed my virginity.
Oh my God, he took it and bounced.
He robbed it. But the crazy part was he literally pumped maybe 3 times and it was like, are you a virgin? And then dipped and was like, I'm sorry, I can't. And then he comes back I'm sorry, I can't do this. I didn't know you were a virgin.
I can't do this. Oh my
God. And he was like,
you already did it, bro.
Nate said, yeah, we don't like playing with virgins.
But see, that goes exactly back to that double standard that we talked about initially. It's this whole idea of wait, be pure. But then it's if you're too pure, then you're unattractive, you're not experienced enough. But then if you're too out there, then you're too much, So it's it's always this thing where women feel like they have to placate towards what men want. And that's totally false.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead.
I think I'm messed up in the head. Not I'm messed up in the head because I think I'm perfect, but I hang around. I hang around a lot of men. My best friend is a male. I hang around even when I was young and in high school, I kicked it with nothing but guys. I would leave school to hang out with the football players, but these were just my homies. So it's I was always around men. I see how they treat women. I know all the details. I know the language. Even sometimes my male friends be like, we be forgetting you're a female, Kira. You act like us. God, you're so like us. And so sometimes I'd be like, I think I'm a little messed up. Because these double standards that women are, what men want to place on women, I don't believe in them because I'd be like, wait, if these guys can do it, I can do this stuff too. I can make a man feel like I want him, or I can have sex with a dude just because I feel like it, just like he wants to use me. I'm gonna use you for your penis. And I remember I told like a dude one time too, like, I'm just like, I only want your penis. Like, I don't care about none of the rest of this. And he's just like, oh my God, like, you're using me. And I'm just like, okay, but don't you do that to us anyway? Like, what's the difference? Like, is it
well, is there a difference? How do you feel about that? I personally feel like there's a little bit of a difference. It just depends on your timing, but do you feel
I don't feel
a difference?
I think I don't feel a difference because of like how I cleanse my vagina. So like like I have like a vagina cleanse ritual. So it's like if I have sex, I do not have sex again for at least maybe like 2 weeks because I want it to go back. And then I might have sex again. So like I have like a whole space. Like I would never like do it to a dude in the morning and then a different
I'm
one
gonna
at
get
night.
that ritual.
Yeah, because it keeps your vagina all tight and stuff. And then like, it keeps it to where you feel all pure still. Like there's like, there's like detoxing in between and you can like chill out. And then you can get back to what you got to get to. And you can do whatever you want. It don't matter.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. That's why I like talking to different people because everybody has their own way of doing things. I'm definitely all about the yoni care galore. Girl,
me too.
I be hooking it up.
Girl.
You have to. You have to. And to be honest, that's like things that women don't talk about either is vagina care. And like, it's like, why are we so afraid to talk about when it doesn't smell right or when it doesn't, or when it's, when we're, what do you call it? Having vaginal discharge coming out instead of being uncomfortable about it. We need to talk about it and fix it. And there's so many things out here that can fix you, cleanse you, heal you. But we aren't sharing that as women because we're taught to, oh, you got an odor down there? That's shameful. You know, or oh, you got it's a little bit wet down there. Oh, that's shameful too.
Well, like I will tell you.
Like what? I've been at work all day. She don't smell like she did when I took a shower this morning. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And men will make you feel bad about that. And it's like, well, your dick don't smell that great either.
Making you feel bad.
But it's like, there's so many societal shame that comes. Oh, you got hair on your vagina. Yes, I'm a woman.
I sure do. It ain't
like,
nice.
There's so many things that men like expect you to have. It has to look like this. It gotta smell like this. It gotta be like this. It's like, bro, why? Like, mine is special to me. Hers is special to her. Hers special to her. Special to her. There's just these societal norms that they place on how it's supposed to look, how it's supposed to feel, how you supposed to ride it, how you supposed to have. You're supposed to know all these things, and it's like, well, the porn world has ruined.
That's who messed it up for you, like. Because porn, I don't know. I watch porn. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, you guys. Sorry. Last night, I just realized that I got a new HDMI cord on my thing. I said, oh my God, I can put porn on my flat screen, and I put that shit up there. And you know what it is? They are doing things, and I dated a porn star before. So look, they are doing things. I'm crazy, y'all. I've had sex with all types of men with no legs, all types of things. I am for real out here in this world. Like, okay. But
no legs.
We get back to that later. But I was dating this porn star, right? And I was like, there's so many things that they don't tell you that's happening in like the porn making that's not even real. Like half of the time, like he was telling me like, okay, listen, you guys think like we're like really like doing all this fucking and stuff. He was like, if you ever look and like the camera comes from a different angle when the guy nets, it's not a guy netting, it's lotion. And I'm just like, what? And they're like, yeah, they're just squirting lotion. If you ever like see like a girl coming really, really, really much, they put things in her and then they started the scene so it could squirt out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's the thing. We're being sold left and right. And
it's a movie. Like,
it is.
Like, that 20 minutes.
They're called adult entertainers because that's what they do.
That 20-minute scene that you're watching took like 4 hours to produce. And like what people don't understand is like it's not real. Like these girls don't really like taking it in the butt. It hurts. Like, like these women like their vaginas had to get iced down so that they can continue the scene. Like, like they're literally leaving these sets with bruises on their vaginas because they just had sex so long, and it's like men don't understand, like that's not real. Like we can't do that. We're not riding your penis for 45 minutes because you've seen a video of someone doing it. She didn't ride for 45 minutes, okay? She took a break and they changed the angle of the shot, and then they came back, and it looked like she kept riding, but nah, she had hopped off and got some water. She went to Starbucks. She came back, iced it down, and got back on. Like, so
yeah, it's a mess. What were you gonna say, Keandra?
No, I was just gonna say, like, unfortunately and very sadly, porn is the main way that a lot of men learn about sex, which is why, unfortunately, they're not always equipped to know how to actually use a woman.
Right.
And it's not necessary. It's not, I don't want to say it's completely their fault, because it also women feel that shame of kind of what we were saying about earlier, not really knowing their bodies, not really even knowing what turns them on and how to actually have, you know, pleasure while they're having sex, because it has been so male centered. And so it's acting, you know, like the whole thing about porn, it is acting. It's not real. You know, all of those positions don't work for everybody, you know, like the timing doesn't work for everybody, the amount of, you know, whatever, all of it, it's not real. And so it is the source of a lot of people's inspiration. Like, it's cool if it's, you know, inspiring and the fun, but when it is set as like the benchmark and the standard of like, this is what it should be like, it sets up a lot of false expectations and honestly just disappointment.
Yeah,
from so many ends.
And it makes women feel like insecure sexually too, because they feel like, oh, well, I can't do this moves or these moves, and I can't do all this stuff, so I must not know how to have sex, or I must like I can't please him because I don't give head or whatever, and yeah, you know, it's like it's just like it's like a whole thing that makes women feel inferior to men for no reason, when it's like, really, girl, all you're really supposed to do is lay back. No, it's his job to put in though. He's supposed to be working, not you.
Well, you look, you know, to each their own.
I just like that.
We gotta do a little something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely those lay there kind of nights, but sometimes you gotta do a little something.
Just lay there. The easy way.
Guys, you brought up such good points, and we had a King speak with Mick, and he was a marketing specialist, and he talked about how we're being marketed to and sold to basically since we're born all the way up until we die. So we definitely need to, I think what could be really invited into the dating world and connection between men and women is the realization of that. Like you guys are talking about, like the porn that is watched and how men are learning about sex from there, but it has nothing to do with what we do, and how what we're learning has nothing to do with what they're about. Then we're expected to come together and have this amazing relationship. And it doesn't really seem to be working that way because of the holes in our thoughts and communications and the way we're marketing to. And so it was really marketed to. So it was really nice too to talk to Nate, because, you know, before we get into our news and gossip segment, what's one way that you guys think, and I'll hear from each of you, that we can stand in a position of power, like a powerful posture to meet all of these opposites that we are facing with the opposite sex, but to do so with power, posture, accountability, courage, truth? Like, what can we do to kind of navigate some of the stuff that we talked about to show up in the fullness of who we are, but yet still get the results that we're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like,
oh yeah. No, I was seriously thinking this through, but go ahead, Kira. Go ahead.
Now, I'm thinking, so you see, I was up here like, oh.
Wait, Nate said in the chat, he was talking about virgin. He was like, oh, I want my wife to be a virgin, but nobody wants the responsibility, because they don't want to be the guy that took the virginity and then didn't end up marrying you. And it's a lot of pressure because we know how important it is to you.
But that was backwards, because you just said, I want my wife to be a virgin, but I don't want to take her virginity and not marry her. You would already be married.
That's why he's like, but we don't want to look guys don't want to be that guy who don't, your man is out there. Be you.
Amen.
How do
Yes.
we see it? How do we see the chat box?
Oh, I don't know. You can't.
Oh, you have to click on comments on the other. It's basically the next tab.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's talking about it ain't really us. It's these dudes that gotta switch, switch up how they
won't let me
accept us.
click it. Oh, it won't
Click
let me
on the right
see.
side, Nate said, to get the comments.
It won't let me click it. It's okay. It won't even let me come back to the screen now. It played me.
Oh no.
It was like, girl, that's what you get trying to be in places you ain't supposed to. Just stay in the chat.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, I had a spaz moment. What was the question again, Jaimi?
Well, I was just kind of saying, and I'll start for an example. I think a way that as women we can stand in our power and in a powerful posture when it comes to dating is if we can not only anchor ourselves in our boundaries and values. Like, if we're going to set a boundary, we got to hold to it. Because I don't know about you, but I've set boundaries, and in the heat of a moment, or if something was said, or if something was, I started to compromise. And that compromise always cost me. So if I can just be accountable for whatever my boundaries are, I think that will allow me to show up in this dating world in a position of power, in a posture that's healthier. Because if I sway and I don't stand in all that I say I'm about, that ain't serving the man or the woman. Like, I've had guys come back in my life years later, like, okay, it's my bad, I messed up, it's this, it's that, and it's too late by then. Now I be feeling responsible because I stayed too long. I did not acknowledge my boundaries. All of these things that I feel like maybe if I showed up differently, because I know that men are playing from a different playbook, now at least I'm contributing in a healthy way. That's what I was thinking.
Well, I think first and foremost, you need to find those boundaries. I don't think some women have them. I know at a certain point in my life, I didn't, because, like I said, it came with having self-esteem, and my self-esteem was in the trash. And when my self-esteem was in the trash, there went my boundaries too. And it took me taking a step back. Also, like Nate did, I was celibate for like a whole year, just didn't talk to nobody, just had to be by myself, just was like, no, I don't want this. And when you're with yourself, you learn a lot about yourself. And then you can come back with a clear mind. I had this teacher one time in college, and I'll never forget what he said. And he was like, you can't make decisions in the heat of the moment. You have to know what you're going to do beforehand. He was like, so he's like, logic will never allow that. So he's like, you have to know beforehand what you're going to do, because like you said, Jaimi, in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking clearly. And so you have to have those solid, solid things that you go back to, that are your principles, your life principles that you sit with. And when you're faced with those things, you have to understand how to realize them when they're in front of you, and then how to move like that. And you're going to disappoint some people. I think sometimes I've fallen down the slide because I've been, standing in my boundaries, and then the man was disappointed, and I was like, oh, well, I don't want him to feel that way. So, let me just, and then it was just like, no, you have to really stand your ground.
And he'll let you too.
They will. And they'll talk you out of it. You'll talk you down into, men are always trying to get what they want, but it definitely, you have to have a clear mind and clear principles in that clear mind, and you have to hold those with you at all times. A foggy mind is never going to make a good decision, ever. And a horny mind is never going to make a good decision, ever.
Nope.
No.
Ever.
I think everything you guys said, is a part of it. And also just knowing what you really want out of life. Because I think sometimes women, they don't want to accept what they want. So if you don't actually want a relationship, but everyone around you is pressuring you, so you're trying to force yourself to want to be this person for these people, but the reality is maybe that's not even what you really want inside. So you just got to be honest with yourself so that you can just live your best life. Like, because I think sometimes people get pressured, especially, I don't know how old everybody is, black don't crack. But like, it's like, I just turned 30. So it's like when you hit like 30, people are like, oh girl, where your kids and your boyfriend? And it's like, well, I don't know. I don't want them yet. Like I keep seeing fine men every country I go to. So I don't want to settle down. Like, I don't know. Like, so it's like, I think like with women, they just have to be true to what you actually want. Ask yourself these questions, revisit the questions, and don't feel no type of way. Don't feel offended if someone thinks you're a whore or whatever they think about you, or, because they want you to be something that the world told them you had to be. Just be who you want to be unapologetically. God's going to love you still. Like, everyone's going to still respect you. At the end of the day, they're going to have no choice. And just be yourself, because I feel like sometimes women just put too much pressure on themselves to be like what the world perceives a like secure woman to be, when the reality is you can create your own narrative to what and who you are. Like, you are the person writing it. You can do whatever you want with it. So go out, ride a penis, break a heart, get your heart broke, break another heart, be insecure for a month, be a savage the next. Like, and just like live your best life and don't care what people think about you.
Boop, bloop.
Yeah. I'm raising a whole tribe of thoughts. No, just like
I know. I was like, well, hey.
That's a good season, though. That's a good season, and I think every season has its use. Like the celibate season is useful and has its what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just its significance and its reasons for being around, as do the thought seasons. Where our host went, but I was actually going to say very similar to what you said, Keys. Being clear on what it is that you want out of life. And even in that season, because there are different seasons. There are some times when you may be wanting to date and be out here for a relationship. And there may be times when that's not necessarily what you want. You may want to just be out here traveling and enjoying and experiencing. And I think that that's good too. But just knowing and being clear with what it is that you want in that season. And just being able to be in the moment and enjoying and living and loving and sticking to it, like sticking to it. That's, I think that's the most empowering place to be is a place where you've made the decision so that you're not swayed by, people's opinions of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Where did our lovely host go?
I think we lost the host.
I totally agree. Even like when Nate was talking about yesterday, in just, there's Jaimi. Oh, there she is.
Am I in here?
Yeah.
I done got a call and my whole life changed, y'all.
Oh, no.
Oh, like, what? But I could hear everything that you guys were saying. Oh, now I'm seeing his comments on the screen. What are we going through? Okay.
I see something that says click on the right side.
It was an old comment. I just don't know how to. Oh, there we go. All right, y'all. Thanks for being patient with this technology, and thank you for all of your input. And I agree about the seasons and everything. I could hear what you were saying. I just got a call. I think this is a very valuable time. I wanted to jump into some really quick news and gossip. It's not that deep, but yesterday was Toni Braxton's birthday, so happy 53rd birthday to Toni Braxton. And I just kind of wanted to share, about a week and a half ago, she put out an article. Well, she didn't put it out, but a lot of people picked up the story that she put out. In a recent article, Toni Braxton shared that she wishes she had had more sex in her youth. She also wishes she would have partied a bit more, including drinking and smoking. She expressed that a lot of these things would have been a lot better younger, because at this age, being 53, it ain't a good look. And those are her words. And again, all of the conversation that we've had, you know, of course, this was to glean out of the power of preparation. But I think all of our talk about sex, insecurity, accountability, and all this has everything to do with how we prepare for a relationship. Because if we're out here getting used up, and by used up, I don't mean the amount of sex we're having. I mean the emotional energy, the mental energy, the spiritual energy we're expending that's not in our favor, that we are just outputting. And if we're not careful, you know, of course, we're going to have to take a season of singleness to put it back. But it really sounds like there's so much guilt, shame, and weight around our sexuality. And it just sucks because we're not getting the experience we need to get when we're younger, and we're not navigating it the right way to be full enough in a proper way when we're older. So what do you think about what Toni Braxton says? And
Toni need to go smoke a little weed and drink a little drink and go fuck her man and call it a day. I mean, 53 ain't old, and if she didn't do it while she's younger, she's gonna keep regretting it until she does it. And like Kiara said, it don't matter what people think. She don't have to do it in private. I mean, in public, she's a celebrity. So if she doesn't want to be blasted for it, then I suggest she does it in private. But if she's regretting not doing these things, then go do it. Go do it. You're alive, girl. Go do it. Live it, because life is too short. I mean, I'm glad I got all my shit out the way when I mean, mama, I lived my best life in my 20s, you know. No regrets, all fun times, but I do know that women who didn't have those opportunities, they often do find regret in their 40s and their 50s. You see that a lot, especially with housewives and mothers who chose that life as a young life. And, you know, I feel really badly for them, but you also chose that life, and you also made those decisions. And if you want to make other decisions, then do it. Like Kiara said, you're writing your book. So if the next chapter of your life is turn up, then that's the next chapter of your life, you know, no matter how old you are.
Yeah. I don't know. I relate to her because, like, in my 20s, I'm sorry, I was that square. But in my 20s, from when I moved to LA, so from 20 to maybe 24ish, I was always in a relationship. So I used to say and I remember I made this rule for myself in college. I don't know why, but I was just I don't want to have sex with any men on my campus. And I was on the dance team for the college, and we were always around the basketball players and all the sports athletes. And I just was I'm not having sex with no athletes because sorry girls on the dance team, but we had them girls was wild. And we had a bad name on campus, and I just didn't want to be a part of it. And I remember I would go to parties and stand in corners being all snooty, nope, not talking to no man. Nope, I got a boyfriend. Can't do it. Nope, I don't want to be this thought. But once I left college, and then I was what was wrong with me? Why didn't I just wild out in college? I didn't have no fun. I was boring at all the parties. I was the lamest chick, and I was just what is wrong with me? And I was sometimes I'd be I'm young still, so I have time, but
you got time.
I got hella time, but I'm almost ready to be in a whole relationship again, but I still got time. But it's just I thought about that too, dang. I should have had more sex in college, and I should have went out and actually drank at I was getting drunk, but just with my boyfriend. So I was I should have been drunk with my dance team girls. I should have been taking my panties off at house parties with them, and they was having the best time of their lives, and I was in a back corner being stuck up. So it's I do sometimes when I heard her say that, I was dang, that was me, but I was only 21, 22. Being a prude. So I don't know. I feel it.
I totally understand. What were you gonna say, Keandra?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I had a season like that too. I was a super prude in high school, Then I started wilding out, but I only got like this much wilding out in because then I got a boyfriend. And once I fell in love the first time, I was like, oh my God, I'm a wife and I'm in love. Like, here I am in my early 20s. I'm just like, you know, I'm like all sewed up. Meanwhile, I'm on all the hottest music video sets, commercials, modeling, doing all this. And so I'm on two sides of the fence. I'm like, did God save me by incubating me in this relationship? Because I might have been a different person. Let's just say, you know, so I'm a little okay. I had my fun, but I always wonder about that little gap of space where it's like, whoo, I was in the mix, honey. Did I, you know, do myself a disservice or was I saved from myself?
Yeah, well, look,
you said about
God saved you for sure.
There is something to be said about that. I was actually like, when I read that, it's interesting because I feel like that conversation has been popping up a lot, like even amongst a lot of my friends, of the things that we wish we would have done when we were younger. I definitely had my season and had a lot of fun. But I also, the underlying part of, at least as it relates to Tony, the underlying part that I heard is, you know, she grew up in a very conservative household, and, you know, her dad was a preacher, her mom was a first lady. And so there was a complete different, or just a real strict expectation that was put on her and all of her sisters. And, you know, we spoke about it earlier, just there's this really unfair standard and pressure that is put on women to have this whole, you know, pure and, you know, save it up and do all these things just so that we can get chose. And so I believe that because Tony is now 53, you know, she's been married, she has 2 children, she's now in a new relationship. I think she's still with Birdman. But like, you know, I think that she probably in hindsight is realizing, like, you know, all that stuff that I was told that was gonna, you know, keep me in this happy marriage and I'm doing all the things right and I would be shielded from, you know, all the hurt of divorce and just all of that. She still experienced it. And so it's almost like I could have just been living my life rather than folding up and trying to conform and contort and do all these things for a man's pleasure, a man's needs, or all these false ideas of what it takes to actually get married and stay married.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, she's definitely in the damned if you do, damned if you don't stage. Yep. But yeah, you know, and that's what we're going back to. It's your upbringing. You know, if her parents would have been not in the, you know, in the church, she might have had a different upbringing and different reality for her. So I'm you know, I'm a mom too, and this is big for me when I think about the things that I want to teach my son, because I'm like, the way that I learned wasn't right. I know better now. And so I want to make sure that he knows that. And so that he ain't out here wilding with these little girls too. I need him to have some sense, you know. So, you know, mothers, talk to your sons, you know, because you have the women's inside scoop. You need to tell your son what's up and how to deal with these women out here. And I think it's important, like I said earlier, and I'm gonna keep saying it, women, talk to your daughters too, and don't put your perspective on them. Just share, just be open. And, you know, it's important to, you know, if they have ideas about things, explore it with them. Don't shut them down, because then they're going to go do it behind your back. And so, you know, there's just a whole, we go super deep with this, but yeah, it's your upbringing has a lot to do with how you live your life. It just does.
Well, just briefly, I will tell you, like, my mom, like, because I grew up in church too, and, you know, I definitely did. I went to vacation Bible school, all the whole thing, every summer. But
BBS.
Like, yes, one thing that like my mom did, and she never said nothing. She would just invite us into her room, and she would always make us watch documentaries on prostitutes. And I remember, like, all the time, like, she would always like, "Hey, come in and watch this with me. Come watch this." And we would watch so many documentaries on like prostitution and like prostitutes getting like raped or being murdered and stuff like that. And she wouldn't say nothing after, like, "Oh, did you see that? Okay, good night." And to me, it literally made me never want to be a whore. Like, I just was, oh my God, I can't be a whore. I can't be a prostitute. Like, look at these women's lives. And that instilled in me for a long time. Like, that's why I was so prudy, because it was like I was always watching these videos of like prostitution and like seeing like how horrible their lives, not horrible, but she always found the most horrible ones. And like, so it would be like how horrible these women's lives are and what they're dealing with. Like, why would I ever want to do something like that? Like, so I definitely agree. Like, like the upbringing and what the parents are instilling, and that subconsciously just made me say, I never want to be a whore or a prostitute, because I had to come and watch these videos with my mom. Even if she never said why we were watching them, she just would invite us in to watch. And then she would like, okay, bye.
Like, let me leave you with that. It's just so weird though, because it's true, the upbringing. So Sunny Rose in the chat said, well said, Keandra. Upbringing is everything, and there's that constant threat of not being chosen. And what I hear from all of our conversations is a lot of us were raised in fear, from the videos to the religion to the sex. This is going to happen. To be honest, I didn't really have a sex talk. My dad popped in a video about STDs, and I had already had sex by that time. So but all of it is so fear-based. Your vagina is going to explode into bumps. You're going to get pregnant. You're going to get murdered. You're going to get... It's so fear-based. Like, no wonder we out here, like, just trying to figure it out. We have got to change that for our children. So I'm so glad you're teaching your son differently. I don't have kids yet, but when God blesses me with the opportunity, I really want to make sure to leave the fear out of it, because it leaves that subconscious energy that is...
And to be able to have the conversation, you know what I mean? Because I'm definitely of the generation as well where it was a book or a video, and it's kind of like I'm just basically left to basically take my own interpretation from whatever it was, that I'm supposed to get, whatever it is that my mother wanted to say or my father wanted to say. They basically left me to figure out the interpretation, when it's like it could have just been an actual conversation. So that way there isn't, it basically just could have been more of a safer place. And I'm sure it's uncomfortable. What parent really wants to talk about sex with their child, but it's very necessary. And I know I definitely have the intention of being, open and having that conversation with my son or daughter, because it's necessary. I don't want to just leave them with "Where do babies come from" books, like, no.
And it's not the stork, and it's not the birds and the bees. It's not. It's real life out here in these streets, and we can't keep like sugarcoating it for these kids, because these kids are out here having oral sex and fucking at 13 and 14 years old. You can't think that they're below it because they're doing these things, and you're just afraid to talk about it with them. Like, you'd be surprised what 11 and 12-year-olds are doing right now, because and their parents would think, oh no, Timmy's not doing that. Oh, Timmy's doing the most. You just don't know what Timmy is doing. And the parents need to do better, and they really need to have these conversations. It's the tough conversations that we hide from that really cause trauma in our lives, because we don't learn the right way. And it's like, well, if someone would have just told me, and it's like,
absolute storks.
Not the stork.
The storks be bringing the babies. I don't know how they get here.
Oh my God, ladies, this was such a great conversation. I love how we were just all able to come together and just kind of pick things apart and chit chat. I think it's so important, that we be empowered and just continue to have conversations like this, because it's so valuable. Before we get out of here, were there any last thoughts that you wanted to share with the audience before we do this?
No, thank you for having us, Jaimi. And I really, really, really love King Speak. I think it's an amazing platform for men. I always tell you this, but I think it's really, really cool that men get the opportunity to speak their minds and they're not judged and shamed by it. And I appreciate Nate for being open and honest. And I think more men should, step up to the plate and really get in tune with their emotions and their feelings, and being able to acknowledge their shortcomings of their past and the women that they've hurt, and move forward and be better men. Be better men, be better fathers, be better partners. And that's it.
Amen.
Yeah.
No, I
Love
agree.
that.
And that's the whole reason for the series. Like you said, we've uncovered so many things in this conversation alone where men are literally learning the opposite from us. And then we wonder why we can't get it together. So I'm really hoping these conversations get us on the same page so we can be harmonious. And the one little homework takeaway I wanted to share with our audience, I'm going to do it myself, you guys can do it, is to just take a moment, get a blank slate, make it as blank as possible, and just start to place a few things in your mind's eye that you want to manifest, that you see yourself, exploring, or whatever it is that you want to be. And not only do you want to have the belief about these things, but see where you can invite in your daily practice, your daily life, a little bit of preparation for them. I always use the example, if you want to be a millionaire, check out and see how somebody became a millionaire, or what habits did they do, or what income streams are they talking about. I believe I'm going to be a millionaire. I think that's great, but I also believe in faith and action. And that's a lot of what the power of preparation was about. It's like, do you want to be a mother? Do you want to be a wife? Do you want to be a husband? Okay, well, that takes finances. That takes patience. That takes all of the stuff that we talked about, acknowledging all of these things. So I just challenge everybody, if there's 3 things that you feel like you want to accomplish or you want to manifest in your life, under those 3 things, maybe you can write 3 more things under each that you can invite some practice and preparation to, so you can let God and the universe know you're serious about what it is that you're asking for, and then put yourself in alignment for it to get it and sustain it. So
That's good. I like that.
Yes, Sunny Rose. Yes, love that. Prepare and invite the life that you want. That's what we got to do, you all. I know I'm out here getting my wife in training on, because one day it's
gonna be one of these kings who speak to you.
You never know. That wasn't the intention when I started, but you just never know.
You never know.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it. Well, we're going to be doing this. Hey, guys. He was like, yeah, we must have been preaching. He was like, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Gustavo.
Yes, Gustavo Victor Carr. So I'm going to be doing this every Thursday at just about the same time. So if you guys ever want to hop on, if you catch King Speak and you hear a topic that that tickles your fancy, holla at me so we can talk about it, figure it out. But yeah, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. This was fun.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was a pleasure meeting both of you, Key and Queen Cookie.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and Keandra, do you want to share about what you have and what you do? I guess before we get out of here, maybe everybody should share so we can follow each other and.
Yeah.
Things going on. So
I know. I realized that I could have put my my Instagram handle in the name, but I didn't. But
I know.
Keandra D. That's basically at Keandra_D is my my Instagram handle. But what I do, I guess like a quick way to say it is I basically help professional women create lives that are centered around their well-being, primarily professional women who work within the corporate America, which is, I believe, the most damaging place when it comes to our self-esteem and our significance, because we tend to basically operate in spaces that strip us of that and constantly fight and battle against it. And so one of the signature things that I do amongst coaching and consulting with different organizations on leadership development and training is I host an event called Surrender Sessions, which is basically right now it's been a virtual gathering, excuse me, for women to basically be able to come together and release and not be so repressed and suppressed when it comes to just the emotions and the things that we're feeling and the ways that we need to heal, and just having an opportunity to come together with like-minded women who are purpose-driven, who are destiny-driven, who are women of faith, but who are also out here just living life, who cuss sometimes, who might drink, smoke, do a little, whatever, who have a past, who just love life, who have lived, but they also are conscious and wanting to be, around high vibe people. So In a nutshell, that is what I
Oh,
do.
I love that. That's so good. I'm trying to join your class, girl. I'm trying to join your class.
Get into it. I've been to every surrender sessions. I love it so much. It's so powerful. I always love surrender sessions. I always love working with you, Keandra, and I've been able to watch stuff unfold over the years. It's like things are just getting started. Like y'all don't even know. And then even Gus said in the chat.
So sweet, Gus. Thank you.
Yeah, you're a saint. I love it. That's like the highest compliment.
Keandra.
Yes. Thank you, Sunny Rose. Yes, that is absolutely my handle. So please follow me. I will definitely be following you ladies once we are done.
Yeah, for sure.
We can all stay connected.
Yes. And is there anything we can support with either of you ladies as well?
Well, my stuff is coming 2021. For most people who have followed me, like most people know me from my podcast, Urban Hollywood Radio. But I stopped it for a couple years because I had to play mommy. But now working on 3 different podcasts right now. So they'll all be breaking 2021. So you will be seeing more of me back on my hosting grind, which is where most people know me from. And I'm just super excited to get back to that. I think, as women, sometimes we lose ourselves as mothers, and I definitely lost myself. And, just getting back to finding the balance between being a bomb-ass mommy and also being a bomb-ass Erica, because that's who I am. And so, yeah, I will be back talking about motherhood, spirituality, friendship, because that's just kind of where my vibe is right now. Healing, because that's where I'm at right now. And just, if anybody is in that space, I invite you to be a part of it because it's going to be fun. So definitely excited for that. Peace and love to everybody. Follow me, I follow back. And we just stand out here and heal each other and love each other and have good times while we're here. Life is too short,
It definitely is.
Yes.
But my girl Kiara got some things going on. Let us know what you got, Kiki.
Oh, do you love me? No, I'm just playing. So my Instagram, I'm sorry,
Oh, she was just about to hook us up with the IG.
No. I could hear her, and then I couldn't hear her no more.
Mm-mm.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't hear you guys, but I don't know. It's being weird now. But you guys can hear me? Yeah? Okay, so since you guys can hear me, I can't hear you guys. But, my Instagram it's Key Renee, just like how it's spelled down here. So I just recently launched my brand new website, keyrenee.com. So actually right now the entire site is 30% off. That's all merchandise, including like empowering shirts like the one I have on, and just other apparel for women in business. So I have a podcast called Knowledge is Key. So basically what I do is cultivate entrepreneurs, which is what I've been doing for the past like 5-6 years, just turn into a podcast format. And within the podcast, you can learn different areas of entrepreneurship, branding, brand development, and then to make sure that I'm able to actually cultivate the entrepreneurs outside of the podcast. I do have an agency that does product and brand development. So that's pretty much anything that you're looking to get built, made. If you're tuning into my podcast and then you're like, oh my God, I want to start this company, I can be like, oh my God, let me help you get it done. So that's pretty much like who I am, what I do. If you follow my Instagram, it's Key Renee. You reach out to me. I can definitely get you connected with everything and help you with whatever you're trying to do. And I love first-generation entrepreneurs. They're my favorite. So if you are a first-generation entrepreneur, definitely reach out to me. And I'm so sad that I can't hear you guys. Why?
Yes, go off, all of us boss ladies.
Yay! We got to shout out to the people in the comments. They're so bomb, all of them.
Yes.
And I got you, Nate. I definitely want to talk to you too. That'll be amazing.
Yes. So we'll all get connected.
That's with the support. I love it. Thank you.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for everything. I'll definitely see you. Don't forget to tune in, you guys, next Tuesday for King Speak. And then we got to come back and have the Queens Glean on next Thursday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been amazing. Like, share, comment. If you like, DM, you know, whatever, all of the things so we can continue the conversation. All right, everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.